this month's background building video, so last month I did the black outline stamping to build your background, but this month I thought I would show you how you don't need a stamping platform and stamping solid images in a colour rather than in black to create your background. And I thought using Oxides will eliminate the need to use a stamping platform because Oxides have got pigment in their formulation. They stamp really nicely, just one impression. I actually just thought I might even add in some pearlescent ink. Maybe this one, Pearlescent Jade, would look good because that's a pigment ink too, so it should stamp nicely without needing a stamping platform. I'm gonna use this set from Altenew, which is called Floral Shadow. I treated myself to this last September at Ali Pali. I have used it a couple of times, but I need to use it more. So, and I think the easiest way, especially when using pigment inks, the easiest way to create a background quite quickly is to designate different stamps to different colours. So, because green is like a foliage colour, I'm going to pick one of the foliages to go with the green colour. So I think I'm going to pick this one. So that one is going to be green, which is Twisted Citron. Then I definitely want this floral one because it's gorgeous. So I'm going to pick this one. And then, because this is quite a large one, I'm going to go with the blue because the pearlescent is quite close to the teal colour. So this is Broken China. Then I'm going to pick I think I'm going to pick this one to do with the cracked pistachio. Bits of baby wipe fluff on these. And then for the pearlescent colour, because we don't want the pearlescent to overpower our background too much, I think you want to use quite a small stamp, or we could actually use our sentiment. Yeah, that would be good. So I think I'm going to use Thanks You. So, and I will test that to make sure it does stamp nicely before we go on to the main background. So, when I'm using my Oxide inks, I also like to, because the Distress Oxide stacks so nicely, you know, the lid fits perfectly under the base, so I just put the lids under the bases, so you've got, it's taking up less space on your work surface, and you can easily tell which one's which colour because they're pigment, so you can see the colour of them from the pad. So, and then I'm just going to place the stamps on their respective ink pads, I think. Okay, I'm going to start with the lightest colour. There's no reason behind that, I just tend to start with the lightest colour. And I'm going to add this all over my background, like in a nice visual, I don't know, layout. But I might come back and add some more of this later if I feel that I need to balance out the green a little bit more. So I'm going to go one here, and then I'll go one down here too. And again, I'm always working on an A6 piece of white card, and then I trim them down with my A2 stitch rectangle die, so I know I'm going to lose a little bit off the top and the bottom. So if I just wanted a hint of another colour peeking in, I'm going to make sure that I make sure the image is in about 1 centimetre, because otherwise I'm probably going to chop it off. Okay, then I'm going to go with the cracked pistachio and this smaller floral image. And you want to make sure, I mean, pigment inks stamp really nicely, just with one impression, as you can see, but you want to make sure you do apply enough pressure when you're stamping to get that nice crisp image. But if you do struggle with applying the pressure. Like, I find my shoulders start to hurt sometimes if I've been stamping too much, so then I would recommend using a stamp positioning tool, because it doesn't matter if you stamp it 10 times to get a good impression, because it's going to stamp in exactly the same place each time. Okay, I don't want to add too much of this colour yet because the pearly colour is going to be similar, so I'm going to stick just with 3, and then I'm going to go on to Broken China with my larger floral image. It doesn't look like it's completely covered, so I'm just going to add a bit more and go straight in here. There we go. And I think down here it just needs a bit more foliage. So I'm only going to ink up the leafy part and then stamp that in. Now I think it could do with a teensy bit more green down here, so I'm just going to ink that up and stamp that in. I think that looks pretty well balanced. Now, so this is a bit of an experiment, so I'm going to try it on a piece of scrap paper. I like to keep scrap paper on hand when I'm working. This is actually, it was free from a computer show or building show that my dad had gone to, and it's like one of those giant blocks, so I just rip them all off and keep them on my desk. So this is a lovely pearlescent ink. You want to make sure that sentiment is relatively straight. It's got good coverage, so I think it will stamp well. Yeah, that stamps really nicely. So if you're unsure of a colour, maybe you haven't used it before, or it's a new ink pad, something, you know, whatever, just test it first. I've had questions actually on my main channel, people saying, why do I stamp on scrap paper first? And it's often because I've never used that stamp before, so I want to check that I've inked it up nicely, or sometimes when you're using a cheaper stamp like a magazine freebie or something, if you're used to using like good quality photopolymer ones like the Altenew ones, and then you go to use a cheaper stamp, sometimes they're less stable, so they're more wiggly, so if you press too hard on them you'll get a really splodgy image, so that's why I like to stamp on scrap paper first. Okay, so I'm just going to add this in a few places. Now, some of the oxide has picked up on here, so I'm just going to stamp that off to make sure I don't contaminate my ink pad too much. And this is going to be subtle, you know, this isn't going to be our main, well, it is the main sentiment of the card, but we're going to add it, when I would finish this card I would add it again. So you just want a few impressions wherever you feel like you want to balance the colour, or you just feel like there's an empty space and you want to add something in it. That's where I would add this. So I think I'm happy with that. And then if I were making this as an actual card rather than just showing you the background, I think I would splash on some shimmer powder as well. So, because I like little splashes of things, so I could use the Nouveau shimmer powders, or I could use Pixie powders, but I think I want a light green, and so I'm going to use Golden Mint from the Pixie powders, because I know there's not a light green in the shimmer powder range. So all I do to do this, I think I showed it in one of the other background building videos that I've done, I just want to clear most of my stuff away, and then I'm just going to tap on the end of the bottle, sprinkle out a little bit of the product. Then I want to spray some water, but I'm not going to spray onto it because that's going to go everywhere, so I'm going to spray over here. You could have just tipped the powder into the water, but I didn't think. And then I'm just going to take a small round brush. This is a number 1 brush, but any small round one will work nicely. And then you just want to bring that powder into the water and get it all mixed nicely. Gorgeous green, I love this colour. It's called Golden Mint, this one, by the way. And then all you do is load up the brush with the watered down Pixie powder, and then I just hold it quite near the end, and then I tap with my index finger just to get some nice splashes on here. And I just try to, sometimes I just do them in a diagonal, sometimes I want it all over, so I've pretty much gone all over it. Yeah, then you just leave that to dry, and there's your stamped background using coloured inks rather than black and an outline stamped image. I'm using a solid stamped image, and I was actually using Distress Oxides because that eliminates the need to use a stamping platform. So I hope you enjoyed this month's background building video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!